All right. Do you remember last time we left off? We were like in a time machine in like some sort of alternate universe. We should.
Really? I
Yeah,
don't remember that.
you don't remember that? There was like robot people. Hmm.
Okay. Okay.
I
I
thought
thought
we
we
were
were
still
still picking characteristics.
well, yeah, while reading the story. Um. Anyways, I'm just gonna read our stats if you wanna talk about characteristics. Oh no, that's not good. Um. Right. Let's go to the stats screen and look at what we got here. Uh, our name is Texacatl Tenoctis. We're from Mexico, but spelled differently than um, spelled with an H between I and C. And our background is mechanic. We've got agility 43, charisma 50, education 67, nature 57, um, perception 57, strength 57, subterfuge. What do you think subterfuge is? 59.
I don't know. You think that's like sneaking around or something?
I don't know. Let's just Google the word and see. Subterfuge. Deceit used in order to achieve one's goals.
Yeah, cheating.
Okay.
Sneaking.
Technology 68 and valor 68. And then we have relationships. Lexius, control, Dr. Sabatine, serial, Strauchus, the journalists, the scientists, and the soldiers. The journalists, scientists, and soldiers are all at 50%. Strauchus at 45%. Cyril at 61. Dr. Sabatine at 50. Control, the robots at 50. And then Alexius, I guess one of our compadres, at 55. Return to game. Alright.
Chapter 3 Spirits in
Oh,
Crisis.
you know.
Byzantium appears all around you and then starts to shrink and fade. After a moment you realize it's receding through time, factories vanishing, medieval walls rising up and disappearing, crude settlements spreading across the shore and then flickering into non-existence. You're going back in time. The calm voices of the controllers as they make adjustments to the machinery only add to the surreal experience. Dawn of time in 33 seconds, a controller announces. The chronometer spins, counting backward. Oh, good, Alexius says with false cheer, his face pale as a radiance like dawn, gold and pink, replaces the flickering world outside. There, Stralkus says as something enormous and geometric appears in the sky. The icons are at work. Certain previously abstract philosophical notions become suddenly concrete in your thoughts. More and more of the shapes gather, paying the specular no mind. But one appears to notice you. Grey and misshapen, the symbol in its center like a lopsided snarl, it peers out around a curtain of other icons. Then, like a feral dog seeing its chance at freedom, it rushes your vessel. Calculation error, the nearest controller calmly reports. Half a second later, the misshapen icon smashes into the specula. The impact rips the controller to pieces and hurls you painfully to the deck. Another impact ruptures a generator and flames momentarily blind you. Error. Error. You lie stunned, people scream, and the specula tumbles through the void. The pain recedes, and you lurch to your knees amid flame and smoke. Several controllers are down, the brass innards clattering along the deck. A pie slice has been taken out of the specula. The people there, mostly scientists, are just gone. As you watch, something like lightning rips into the vessel, blasting a half-dozen journalists into nothingness. The specula starts to break apart as you catch a glimpse of a vast, wild landscape below. The people you just met are dying all around you. Nearby, the soldier Cyril clings to a broken railing and the scientist Catton shouts as a console burns around him. On the far side of the specular, the satirist Mito, writing in his notebook even as the specular burns, is unaware of a pillar about to fall upon him. I firmly grab hold of Cyril. Whatever is happening, we'll need someone who can fight it, not think about it until it's too late. Moving fast, I pull Captain quickly away from the burning console. We're going to need answers only a scientist can provide, not more lies and tricks. I shout a warning to Mito. Whatever happens here, someone needs to create an honest record for posterity, not vainglory and foolish heroism.
Okay. So we can save a soldier, we can save a scientist, or we can save a journalist.
I think we need to save a warrior. I don't know. We're a mechanic. We could use like a scientist to create something big.
Scientist is the second answer. Caton.
I don't know. Are any of these people chicks? We should be saving the chicks.
I don't even know their gender, really.
So that we can populate and reproduce the new world in the past. And become rich in the future.
Okay, so Catan is a man. Mito is a man. And Cyril, I don't know what Cyril is.
Cyril sounds like a dude.
Yeah, I guess they're all dudes. I don't know. I don't care. Let's go with the scientist. Catan. Ready?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Middle answer.
Middle answer. Oh, we got 3 more answers on the next page.
Stepping as quickly as you can around the spreading chemical fires, you reach Captain the Younger as he and the controller try to hold onto some kind of attitude wheel. You pull him away as flames suddenly engulf the mechanism, scorching your arm. The controller blackens, still clinging to the wheel. Captain spins around, wild-eyed, then looks from your smoking jacket sleeve to the burning console. "Thank you, lad," he says. "That was almost the death of." Then Captain and a half-dozen other scientists vanish in a flash of colorless lightning. You're hurled to the ground, dazed but unhurt. When you can see again, Mito is dead or gone, as are most of the soldiers, scientists, and journalists. Cyril lies dead on the deck of the specular, transfixed by a piece of machinery. Alexius and Stralkus still cling to the specular's central pillar. "Where are we?" Stralkus shouts over the roar of air. Tarps and blankets, perhaps intended for a picnic at the dawn of time, swirl all around. "Too high up for comfort." Alexius shouts back, casting a horrified glance down at the green-grey expanse below. Most of the varied merchants and translators, who were closest to the center of the specular, still cling on, but the screaming, starting to panic. Stralkus forces himself upright and starts gesturing for them to be calm as the spinning dinner plate you're all on seems to be leveling out. Suddenly the straps holding a trunk burst and the trunk falls off the side of the platform, taking a controller with it. A second trunk starts to break free, but Alexius pins it down despite the roaring flames. "What are you doing?" Stralkus roars at the merchant. "If we don't die in the next 10 seconds, Alexius says, I'd like to land with something to eat." "Stable," a badly damaged controller says. "Star." Then she droops and topples over. The wheel she was holding starts to spin. The next closest controller looks at the spinning wheel with a surprisingly human expression of alarm, but that unit is too busy working its own console.
Okay, so now we have 3 options.
Dude, I can't believe Cyril's dead.
Yeah, they just killed. I never really got to connect with those characters. I think Cyril was the one that we met one of the original two
Like
that we met.
original characters.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Like, seems kind of important.
Yeah, maybe we should have saved Serial. But whatever. Here's the 3 answers we have now.
I hastily tie a leather tarp over the supplies to keep the fire away from 'em. I help Control turn that wheel. But which way? I'll have to listen over the howl of the wind. I speak up, helping Stralkus keep the survivors calm so they don't fall off the specula.
I have a feeling that we should grab that wheel. I don't know. Someone's already taking care of the supplies, aren't they? Like, I don't know. I'm gonna grab the wheel. Good?
Yeah, sure.
Shaw.
The controller notices you, assesses your usefulness in an instant, and says left 16.5 degrees. Mercifully, the brass ring around the wheel is demarcated. You crank the wheel, not even sure what you're doing, but the specula seems to level out a bit and the wheel snaps into place. A controller gives you a brisk, satisfied nod. Then the specula lurches again. The vessel starts to fall, and for a moment all you can see are flashes of silver and green. All you can hear are the calm voices of the remaining controllers. You're not even sure what you're falling through. Are you in the air above a wild and verdant landscape? Or are you falling through time? The specula's transit disastrously miscalculated. Again you see the crooked symbol, the ugly grey light of that strange icon. Then the noise and agony of impact overwhelm you. Well, you're not dead. My damn head. Son of a bitch. Neither is Alexius. Blood, illuminated by a sputtering chemical fire, spreads down the sloping deck of the specula toward you. It spills from the throat of Captain Carmatiris. You reach for him, but he's already dead, his eyes blank. This close, you can see how the specula's mirror-like deck is divided into regular hexagons. The captain's blood follows the channels in the metal. Stralkus kneels in moss beside the broken craft, examining one of the scientists. He drops the man's head back to the turf. He's dead, too. Bodies are scattered everywhere, many of them mercifully hidden by a silver-grey fog that hangs over everything and scatters the light of the flames. Controllers, several of them catastrophically damaged, work patiently to unload equipment before the chemical fires claim everything. Through the mist you notice what appears to be several human figures on a low hill. None came from the specula. You can almost make out the features of the nearest one, a woman in tattered-looking clothes, holding a rifle. A walking stick. You can't be sure, but you see her watching Control with a look of profound alarm, bordering on horror.
Okay, and our answer, we have 5 options here.
I ignore my own pain and check if anyone else is still alive or needs my help. I help Control put herself back together. Maybe I can find a toolkit for her. I don't waste time with the dead. Instead, I identify supplies we need for wilderness survival and haul them to safety. We need to figure out where we are. I claim the high ground and scout around, eyes on the people watching us.
That was all 5 answers.
No, there's one more for some reason. I guess I didn't copy and paste it. It's the last one is no one seems to have noticed our watchers. I leap nimbly onto a metal strut to get their attention and shout up at them, hoping they'll help. What do you want to do? Scout, yell, supplies. Huh?
Is there a stealthy one? Like a sneaky one?
I think the scouting one is the sneakiest. We need to figure out where we are. I claim the high ground and scout around, eyes on the people watching us. But it's not really sneaky. You can check and see if anyone is still alive or needs help. You can put some robot back together. Yeah, you can get supplies. You can scout.
I don't know. I'm afraid of these people. So I feel like I guess we should try to save the people first. So
Okay.
either scout or save the robot, I guess.
Okay. I kind of want to save the robot. Let's save the robot.
Okay.
Control is beyond anything you've seen in Byzantium or elsewhere, except perhaps the specular, but you can see what she's trying to do. About a dozen intact controllers remain, and while several more are so damaged they can't function. They contain components she can cannibalize for her less damaged members. It's creepy work, corralling the Walking Dead into place. Several controllers are torn to pieces, the brass insides gleaming. You manage to push a pair of legs and a skirt toward a controller with a damaged foot, shuddering despite yourself as one woman starts calmly disassembling her identical twin for parts. "Thank you for this," a controller beside you says. Her voice sounds less flat and mechanical than before. An explosion blasts away a corner of the specular, but Control appears to have already retrieved most items of value. The flames stop spreading, but several fires still burn, beneath the watchful and curious gazes of the woman and her soldiers. A controller reads out a brief inventory of everything you could salvage. You have plenty of food, water, and wine, 3 Amantio rifles, standard issue on Byzantine ships, which the specular arguably was, 4 satchels of medicine, a crate of scouting equipment including journals, pens, binoculars, and papers, and a crate of photographic equipment. Control seems more organized and independent now, despite being down to only 9 functioning units. Controllers give each of you a rifle, and another controller carefully hands you exactly 7 bullets. "Not much," Stralkus says. "How many people are you planning to shoot today?" Alexius asks the mystic. "We'll start with those creatures skulking on the hill and move on from there," Stralkus says. "Unacceptable," a controller says as they all tie the brown hair into buns in unison. "I saw the false icon, and it saw us," the mystic says. "There should be no people here. And I'm in charge here, so you will follow my orders, you wind-up doll." You remember the ugly grey polyhedral as it raced for the specular. "My task is to re-establish contact with Dr. Sabatine, not to serve you," Control says. "Why are we arguing?" Alexius says, rubbing his head. "Let's look around. Figure out which direction we should walk in and if those people on the hill want to kill us." The mystic nods and backs away from the controllers to check his rifle. "Alexius, you look hurt. Can you move around?" "Stralkus, do you have any idea how to get us back in touch with Byzantium?" "Control, you seem more independent than just a few minutes ago."
So the last 3 sentences were the 3 options we have. They're just conversation options. Alexius, you look hurt. Can you move around? Stralkus, do you have any, any way to get idea how to get back in touch with Byzantium? And then Control, you seem more independent than just a few minutes ago. What do you think?
I don't know. They all seem kind of bland.
I think communication's kind of important.
Yeah, I don't know. Should we see if we can get back to Byzantium?
We can try. That's the middle option.
For a moment the mystic seems lost in reverie, but then he shakes his head and says, "The doctor had a wireless device built into the specular, but I don't think it survived the crash. I should never have let drive." Sabatine considered this mad venture. "I fear that meddling woman has broken something that cannot be fixed." You follow the mystic's troubled gaze, but see only the half-hidden watches, the grass and moss, and thick jungle plants you don't recognize. "I do not trust the doctor's agents here," Stralkus confesses when all the controllers have moved away from him. The technology, like the specular, does not come from her own imaginings. "They're moving," a controller says, raising her voice so you and Stralkus can hear. "Your watches have started to slip sideways down the hill. Still half hidden by mist and small trees, they move like something has spooked them. They're definitely carrying spears, not rifles." The wind shifts, bringing with it a carrion reek stronger even than the dead still strewn around your crippled craft. The three watches vanish into the underbrush, and you feel yourself instinctively crouching beside Stralkus and Alexius as some primitive part of your brain reacts to the stink. "What is it?" Control asks, her many bodies looking all around, unsure what startled the living people. Then the controllers stop and turn as one to regard the thing that comes out of the mist. It appears more first, its mouth gaping, each of its teeth the size of your forearm. Its eyes are black and empty, its body marked by poison-bright stripes. Huge claws dig into the soft, mossy earth as it glides forward, moving so fast you know you could never outrun it, using its long grass-green tail for balance. The whole creature is over 30 feet long. The crumpled body of one of your fellow soldiers draws its attention. The monster lowers its head, prods the corpse with its small arms, then swallows the dead man in 2 quick bites. Alexius gasps, and the monster's gaze snaps to him. "Not fair," the merchant whispers as, with a hideous bellow, the monster charges him, charges all three of you, as controllers scatter to avoid being trampled.
Dude, it sounds like a T-Rex.
Yeah, it does. We have some options here now. So, I'm going to play those.
I shout for watchers to help. I might end up beholden to them, but it's better than getting eaten. I suppose this is my job. Despite the danger, I raise my rifle to my shoulder and put a round in the monster's open mouth. I grab a burning piece of wreckage and try to lure the monster away, despite the risk. I hide. No way am I facing a monster like that. Everyone open fire. We can stop it together. Better to spend bullets than lives. I get everyone mobile, and we abandon the site. We might lose some supplies, but no one will die.
I don't know
what kind of character do you want to be? You want to be a good guy, a bad guy? You want to be heroic?
Okay. So, I mean, it's a T-Rex, right? 30 feet. Like, you really should probably run and hide in real life.
Or you could bait it with fire, but you might die.
Yeah, I mean, that's what happened in Jurassic Park, right? To the guy that sits on the toilet.
I don't think he baited the T-Rex, dude. I think he just died.
No, he used a flare, and he threw the flare into the woods, and then he ran and sat on the he just had to poop, didn't he?
Yeah, he was just taking a shit.
I don't know, man. I think I might raise the gun and shoot him.
And shoot him. Okay.
But I think
I would either do that or fire or take everybody and hide. And
the hide one doesn't. The hide one doesn't take everyone. It's get everyone mobile, and then we abandon the site. We must lose some supplies, but no one will die. But if you do that, then you lose like what's left of the time machine, right? You're never going home.
No, I got there, and then your sister and Brayden and Maddie come in. I'm like, oh, hey. And they're like, where's Jamie?
Alright, Dustin's busy. Let's choose. Yeah, I'm gonna just raise my rifle and shoot. I mean, probably not gonna kill. Yeah, probably not gonna kill him. Hey Dustin, I'm gonna mute you for a second. Just message me
Yeah.
when you're ready. Alright. Hello.
As the monster bears down on you, preceded by the carrion reek of the meat hanging from its teeth, you raise the rifle and fire once. The bullet skims off the side of its face, drawing a thin red furrow under one eye. It veers off course, and you fling yourself into the moss to avoid being trampled. The dragon thing turns to face you again as you reload, but it seems annoyed, almost offended, by this minor injury. Perhaps it spots Alexius and Stralkus nearby, similarly armed. Perhaps it is merely confused and angry, frightened by the still guttering flames around the specula. Whatever the reason, it gives one final disgusted snort and retreats into the mist. Meanest damn peacock I ever saw, Alexius says, hands shaking as he slings his rifle. After the chaos of the attack, there's a moment of calm. The sun beats down, burning away the mist and revealing the full extent of the devastation, the broken equipment, the scattered bodies, and, not far away, the three who have watched you since your arrival. You can see them clearly now, dressed only in loincloths and beautifully worked scrimshaw, armed with obsidian-tipped spears and polished clubs. The bodies are tall and lean, their eyes fierce and bright, and you know that they can use those simple weapons to deadly effect. The woman, who appears to be their leader, takes a hesitant step forward. Control has retreated into the thinning mist while, beside you, Stralkus and Alexius regard the woman with haughty contempt mixed with fear. The woman studies the three of you with brown eyes so bright they almost seem golden, then puts her hand on her chest and says, Kemia. A pretty local girl. I step forward without hesitation, smile my best smile, and say, Texacotl. I guess I'll take the lead. I step forward just a little bit, so as not to expose myself, and say, Texacotl. I need to make a good impression. I step forward, trusting they won't kill me, and say, Texacotl. Alexius, this is what you're here for. Show her proper respect. Alexius, let's not let the locals get the better of us. Say hello but don't grovel or anything. The woman seems caught off guard. You catch the slightest smile, quickly hidden. She repeats your name, slowly, Texacotl. Stop disgracing yourself before that naked savage, Stralkus says. Beside you, Alexius says, let me try a few languages and see if she speaks any I know. Alexius flits through Kona Greek, Armenian, a few Bantu languages, Punjabi, and others you don't recognize. Dr. Sabatine chose the young Persian for a good reason. Though, in the languages you speak, you realize he is complimenting Kemia's appearance. Alexius and Kemia trade languages, the merchant's fingers twitching as if he were tabulating sums, the warrior fiddling with the braid from her long black hair. As Alexius tries language after language under the increasingly hot midday sun, a piece of the specula previously lost beneath ferns sputters to life. Kemia and Alexius both jump back. Then, realizing there's no threat, Alexius edges toward the machinery. The chronometer, Alexius says. Years passed. Day. Month. It reads 0001100. She really did it, the merchant says. 11,000 years ago. The dawn of time. Kemia looks ready to smash the machine. I step fearlessly between Kemia and the machine. The device is more important than I am. A subtle and secretive glance should warn Control of my concerns about Kemia. Stralkus, I say. My voice carries enough strength to get the mystic's attention and warn him of the threat. Kemia touches the polished wooden cudgel at her side but lets you move between her and the machinery. She remains tense, but now she seems curious about what you're trying to protect. Then the chronometer flickers, brass numbers sliding until it reads 000110000. 11 million. Stralkus says. There is no 11 million. Maybe it switched to minutes. Alexius offers, rubbing the back of his head. But no, you can see that it's set to display the years. A moment later it reads 1,100,000,000,000, then 0001100, then it flickers back to 0000000. What has happened? Stralkus asks Control, his voice strained. Where are we? The robots have no answer, but several are looking straight up. The sun has burned off the fog, revealing a savage landscape of steep cliffs and green jungles all around you, but also something hovering in the sky like a colossal silver iceberg. You recognize it. You saw it rush the specula. You remember its obscene asymmetry, the symbols that shift crookedly within it. You did not know it was so large, though the size of a mountain. The false icon, Stralkus says. It's free. It's here. Kemia and her warriors pointedly don't glance upward. Alexius looks quickly away, too, rubbing the bridge of his nose. It's clear that whoever you were in Byzantium, you'll have to change and adapt to survive here. These savages seem brave and honest. We must make friends with them and abandon our devious, civilized ways to survive. We must abandon the niceties of civilization. Forget courtesy and fine speech, we must be strong and wise to endure here. Our machinery is the only thing that will let us survive here. We must use what we know and adapt the natural world to our needs, not the other way around. Technology got us into this mess. Now we need to pay attention. This world is full of treachery and we must be cunning to survive. You feel yourself formulating an ideology of survival. But before you can articulate your thoughts to the others, Alexius rubs the back of his head again, swaying a little. What is it? Stralkus asks. Nothing, the merchant says, I just hit my head on the... He falls like a stone against the chronometer. You reach for him, then feel the pain of your own wounds, the many ragged cuts and scrapes you took during the crash. Controllers surge around you, alarming Kemia as some examine Alexius and others help you to rise. You can stand, just barely, but you can't do anything for Alexius. The merchant does not move.
Okay, I'm just going to stop the stream now. That was fun. Pretty quick chapter. Whole lot just happened.